And then we'll share that with the group. We'll share the recording with the larger group, and it'll be just a short recording. We'll just tell them to take a look at and listen.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So American Muslim Community Foundation started back in 2016. We help families distribute their sadaqah and zakat, and do that primarily through donor advised funds and giving circles. So today we wanted to focus on what giving circles are. Many of you are probably familiar with the concept. It's been taking place in a lot of cultural communities all across the world. But the way that we've kind of formalized them here in the United States is whether it's a group of family or friends giving together, and specifically in our sense, to nonprofit organizations. So instead of you sending out a donation link and 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 people giving all individually to that charity, and then kind of confirming with people that they made their contributions and stuff like that, AMCF steps in as an administrator and organizer to collect the funds up front and then distribute it to the charities of your choice. So how giving circles have operated in the past are, you can decide the size of your group, you can decide who participates in your group, you can decide on a minimum threshold of contributions, and the members and people who contribute can nominate nonprofit organizations for the overall group to participate. And then you can review all of the kind of grant applications that come in through the process, and then able to more effectively review and learn about other causes, and then decide how you want to give together. So you can decide that you want to make annual distributions or quarterly distributions, or say in Ramadan and in December. And you can come up with the outline. AMCF has some templates and ways in which that we can make that whole process easier for you. And Saima and Dima have a lot of experience in this, as they're part of 200 Muslim Women Who Care, and they're operating out of Florida, and they do it locally. So after I'm done, Saima, you can even share a little bit more about the organization and what you do. But I think the real sweet spot here is focusing nationally, right? And focusing on Muslim women across the country who want to support causes and learn about causes together and make those decisions together. So I think there's a really good opportunity to look at the landscape, and you can determine on, again, as part of your request for proposals or throughout the year, maybe focusing on different types of nonprofits. So maybe somebody's really passionate about civic engagement, or somebody's really passionate about food banks, or somebody's really passionate about healthcare. You can do specific themes throughout the year and then learn about those causes as well. So the Giving Circle is really an opportunity for you to come together. We have resources through a network called Philanthropy Together, and they actually provide resources and education on giving circles. So I'm actually going to be attending one of their cohorts next year. And we can also invite membership from this giving circle to participate and learn more about how to effectively manage and work together in a giving circle. So we're happy to share those resources and be that like administrative aspect of the group, but we really want you to feel empowered on how you decide and how you come up with the criteria for organizations to be reviewed, for coming to decisions on different levels of membership. Maybe it's a minimum of $500 or $1,000 or $2,500, and anybody who contributes at any one of those levels still has a vote or can nominate charities, and it's an open process because we really want to work on demystifying and democratizing philanthropy. So making it accessible for people to participate is something that's important. And we want you to feel empowered to come to those decisions together. So I'll leave it there, and leave a majority of the time for Q&A. But I would like for Dima or Saima, if you want to just kind of share a little bit more about 200 Muslim Women Who Care, and kind of what you've done over the last few years, because I think you guys have a really successful model, and there's a really good opportunity for us to open it up to the national level for people to participate in a giving circle for Muslim women.
Great. Thanks, Mohit. I'll speak for Dima right now because she can't speak, but whatever I'm talking about really is Dima's brainchild. And she invited some of us here in the Tampa Bay area to join her a few years ago. So we've been fortunate to be on this journey with her. I think in a sentence, and we've thought about this long and hard, we started it, Dima and another friend of hers, they started it together, this giving circle. And it has sort of grown and matured into something that we're all very proud of. And as we reflected on what it is we are doing versus, when we started, what it's grown and becoming, I think in a sentence, it's taking the collective power of American Muslim women. So the way we talked about it is, what is our core competency? It would be unlocking the power, the collective power of American Muslim women to do social good. That really is in a nutshell what we do. What we also do is we sort of have a presence in the community that we otherwise think is missing when it comes to Muslims. So we sort of do contribute to our own internal causes that are ours, but we maybe perhaps not so much in the wider communities, or at least are not seen to be. And I think that was important, but it was very important for us to have American Muslim women be that force in our local communities to do social good for improvement. And again, I'll attribute this back to Dima, what the simplicity of the model is, and the pitch is, give me $100 and I'll convert it into $20,000 in a matter of 90 minutes. That essentially is the other part that we're very proud of. It's a giving circle. It really is member dues. People sign up to be a member. They give quarterly. They can give upfront or they give quarterly. It's just $100, so $400 for the year. And it really goes through the democratic process you described earlier, is that members get to nominate charities that are up for consideration every quarter. Of course, once they nominate a charity, there's a process that we undertake to make sure that those charities meet certain criteria that we've internally established. And then, based on that, we then put up 3 charities that come to present every quarter. And then our members vote on which was the most compelling charity. And then we award the monies to them. And we sort of have 2 buckets where we have a non-Muslim charity that's local to Tampa, and we go through this process for them. And then we have a Muslim charity that comes and does the same thing with some differences, but in essence, the same process. And then the members vote, and they then decide which charity the monies go to. And by that process, we ultimately disperse about $80,000 a year, every year. And we make sure the money stays, and that's very important to us, is making sure that the money stays local to the Tampa Bay area.
So one of your criteria was like Tampa Bay area.
Staying local was important. Yes. Because I think, I just think being present in our communities is something that was really one of the driving forces, and to be recognized and be seen to be present and to be, kind of force for good. So we wanted that here, and I think that's worked out really well because we get a lot of positive feedback, and we're also able, through this effort, actually even help our own communities, right? Because we've had organizations come in, present, and then have turned around to us and said, hey, is there a need for this in your community that we could fulfill? And so we've had cases where children who've needed certain assistance have been able to avail of those services. And so I think that sort of also keeps the member engagement because it's local, because we see that positive loop, positive feedback loop. It really helps continue that support and that engagement on the part of our membership as well.
And how big is your membership? Is it 200 women? Is it close to the name, or has it, mashallah, grown?
You know, it's a rolling, because you know, by nature of this, there's a rolling aspect to it. Some people are in, some people roll in, some people roll off. We do maintain about 200. We've been very fortunate, alhamdulillah, to maintain about 200 average. We don't expect to grow at this point. I think we're sort of trying to maintain and sustain what we have. So at this point, the plan is not to sort of suddenly grow it to 1,000. I think we'd like to stay at 200. We do cap it slightly higher than 200 to manage that rolling numbers. You know, some members may not contribute that quarter for personal reasons, or somebody may drop off, but then we have others. So we manage it in that manner.
And how long have you guys been?
I was just going to say,
Oh,
mashallah is just a wonderful model. Thank you for sharing it with us.
I'm so sorry you guys can't. I'm so sorry you guys can't hear it from Dima herself, who's at an appointment and so can't speak. But she really has been the driving force and the visionary for all of this. So we do owe it all to her.
I had one clarifying question. So when you guys give per year, do you give to one charity or one charity per quarter after folks have voted on it? Because I'm taking notes to present to our larger audience.
We award the monies to two charities every quarter. One is a Muslim charity, one is a non-Muslim charity.
Got it.
And it's I guess by the end of the quarter, it would have been 8 charities that by the end of the year, it would have been 8 charities that would have been awarded the money.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. This is Afshan from the Bay Area. And I wanted to know, do you do the Muslim and non-Muslim charity because you're intentional about separating out the sadaqah versus the zakat monies? Or is it just more to be intentionally engaged with the community further?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I think, you know, at a time when Dima's better able to speak to it, she could. I think we initially, I don't know if it was that, it was that, well, I'm looking for a word that I can't find. I'm not sure it was that intentional as to how that played out. So I'm not sure I have a good answer. I don't think it was to separate out from.
I'm sorry, ladies. I just walked out, but I got to jump back in. So the point is, we don't separate it for sadaqah versus non-sadaqah money. We do it because of no conflict of interest. So if you imagine what a nonprofit does, they're going to come in and pitch to your audience. And then if you have a group of Muslim women who all vote for a Muslim cause, there's definitely a conflict of interest there. So we separate the two because of that reason. So, but I do want to quickly share that I know that some of you are taking notes. The idea that we have as an organization, since alhamdulillah, we've been doing this we're about to go into our 5th year, is that our goal is to ultimately have chapters across the country. And so if you are taking notes, we kindly ask that you wait until we have a perfect game plan for anybody who is interested to do this for their local communities, because we want to ensure that you walk in to this concept with, you know, a full repertoire of things, like your toolbox, you know, so that you can effectively run a local grassroots organization as we have. So you're just not walking in blindly, because there is like it sounds so simple, but there are a lot of things to work out behind the scenes. Yeah. So
I'm sure. And just so you know, we are looking at different models, because mashallah, this is a wonderful model, and there's so many women, especially making differences in their community. So thank you so much for sharing that. And we will make sure that we're clear that you are looking for chapters to join or to replicate the model with of course, with the learnings and advice from the original.
Yeah, definitely. And we will be inviting Dima onto our podcast to talk further about this whole vision. And we're looking at how AMCF can partner with 200 Muslim Women Who Care in potentially being like a fiscal sponsor or partner on the admin side of this. So I wanted to also share that, AMCF operates, 8 giving circles currently. One is as simple as like a family that plays fantasy football together. They each pitch in an amount of money, and whoever wins the season, first place gets to give away 50%, second place gives away 30%, third place gives away 20%. And we also have another giving circle in the Bay Area where families give $5,000 of zakat. And then they choose 2 charities that one gives, they give 70% to, and the other charity gets 30% of zakat. And something as well that I think is really important, and something that, in giving to organizations outside of the Muslim community, as individuals, each of us may give to support to other causes, but they don't necessarily align it with our faith and our giving to the cause. So by Give from American Muslim Community Foundation, it's clear that the Muslim community cares about the community overall as well. So I wanted to note that, and also, really appreciate Dima and Saima joining from the 200 Muslim Women Who Care, because I think that there's a really big opportunity to do something together and collaborate on this. And, whether this giving circle decides to fully do something in line with the 200 Muslim Women Who Care model, or do something that is a little bit different. Again, the idea is that we want to focus nationally. And what I will say here from the onset is, if you want to do something local, then definitely partner with 200 Muslim Women Who Care to do something locally. But I think the main difference in this partnership and this vision for this giving circle is to do something nationally, so that you learn about causes all across the country. And, I think Dima and Saima would agree that, if you want to do something locally, then even AMCF's preference is that you work with 200 Muslim Women Who Care, right? We want to empower and give homage and respect to the organizations that have been doing it longer and have their process and policies in place. And I think part of that learning model that Dima and Saima are working on is to kind of franchise in the future, right? And they're looking at AMCF to be a partner in that franchising aspect. But again, the purpose for today's conversation is to hopefully look at a national framework to do this through. So I also want to give a few opportunities to Fatima, Afshan, Sabia, and a few others who joined to also introduce themselves really quickly.
Thanks.
Assalamualaikum. Go ahead, Sabia.
Hey, Assalamualaikum, Fatima. Assalamualaikum, everyone. I'm Sabia Chunawala, and I was part of a giving circle a number of years ago that was started in the Bay Area by a bunch of Bay Area Muslim women, predominantly entrepreneurial women between sort of 25 to 35. And how we structured was we would invite different organizations in the Bay Area to come and present to us about their plans, what they were focusing on, campaigns, their financial structure. And at the end of the year, we would vote on 2 or 3 of those to fund. There was a flat amount that each of us contributed that ranged from 2 to 5K, depending on the year. And we would split that then evenly amongst the orgs that we voted upon. After the first year, we sort of kind of almost had themes around organizations that we were inviting. For example, one year we really wanted to focus on the arts and culture and organizations that were using those mediums to promote Islam. And so we did sort of then invite orgs in that space and vote across that. So that's all I wanted to share with everyone.
You mentioned that is it not currently active, the giving circle that you're a part of, or is it on hiatus? Or
that's correct. Yeah, we've not been active for a number of years. As you can imagine, after a number of years, given the age bracket I just told you, many of us were starting to have our children, and some were getting married, some were starting a new startup, and so life took over in other ways. Yeah. And so, yeah, we've not been active for a number of years. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? I know we want to be respectful of everyone's time and we had put it till 1:30. So just want to make sure that everybody got a chance to ask the questions so we could go back and deliberate. And this is being recorded so that this 30-minute conversation can easily be reviewed.
I have a quick question for Saima and Dima. Does your organization do repeat donations, or is it always a new organization that you would donate to?
We have a requirement that a charity not repeat itself within a certain duration. So we do honor that time period. So if you've received a donation in a certain quarter in a year, there is a cycle that it goes through where it can't be renominated.
Thanks.
I'm Fatima. Simon, Dima, I just had a question in terms of, the amount that you typically, I don't know if you actually mentioned that, but is there a certain amount, a minimum amount that each person participates in? Have you tried different amounts? And has there kind of been a sweet spot in terms of the donation amount where you get kind of active participation?
The donation amount has always been $100 a quarter and $400 for the year. And really, so I don't know about the sweet spot, but I think it really just is a painstaking human labor and effort that goes into collections and relationships, and leveraging those, and a lot of hard work to get those collections in. But yeah, no, we never experimented with different levels. We kind of started with this, and I think may have picked the right level because we've been able to maintain it.
Yeah.
Saima, do you collect the donation $400 at the beginning of the year, or is it per quarter? And what's the logic there for either way?
Flexibility. So we allow either. Right. So you could do it up front, or you could pay every quarter when the quarterly meetings occur, before or right after. So and if you have to vote, then you have to have paid up your dues for that quarter. But it's a quarterly or an annual model, so it's flexible.
We appreciate how much you've thought this through. And I wanted to ask Muhi, so where is the intersection between a vision that a group of the women have, and we may have in Chicagoland, and then where you come in to help with logistics and systems?
Yeah, so each of the giving circles that we operate, and there's also another model called Giving Circle New York, and they have like hundreds of donors, and AMCF is their administrator. So they have, quarterly, they have one-time payments, you can do monthly payments, and they have different levels from as little as $60 a quarter to $300 a quarter. So a lot of the different giving circles have different models. But I think the really good opportunity for AMCF to step in as an administrator is, we can set up your donation page. Any donations that come in, we can share a report with you that say who gave at what amount. And then that way, you know who to follow up with to make their payments for the quarter or for the year, whatever model you choose. And what I would say is our goal for AMCF is to launch like a national Muslim women's giving circle. And we'd love for people to come together on that focus. And if it ends up being that majority of the people are from Chicagoland, or if the women in Chicago want to do something Chicago-based, then I would prefer that we partner with 200 Muslim Women Who Care and help them kind of expand their network and their goal. But I think at the same time, there's an opportunity for AMCF to still play like the administrative logistics of that. So I know that there's representation from all across the country on this phone call, and for a few other people that weren't able to make it. So I really hope that that can be the framework of this particular effort. But I think, we can have more conversations around that, and whatever questions you have, AMCF is more than happy to play like that administrative role of being the source of collecting the funds and distributing the funds and empowering the group to make those decisions. So I do want to ask if there are any other questions. I know Dilara and Rima had about 30 minutes today, but I do have more time if people wanted to ask more questions.
Okay. So the decision points you'd want us to think about right now is, do we want to be national or do we want to be more local?
Mhm.
And then once that decision is probably made, looking at also simultaneously core values and criteria that's important to all of us collectively, you know,
Mhm.
possibly the size, if we wanted to make any kind of limitations, et cetera, not just of the group, but also then the amount of the fund and what we would require.
Mhm.
And then would we work to just focus on Muslim organizations, or are we broadening it out to the greater American community and any organizations that maybe that don't identify as necessarily Muslim led or Muslim run?
Right.
Okay.
And there's a whole process that AMCF can do over like an hour or 90-minute discussion to go into what those core values are of the group, and seeing who prefers a national or regional or local, and we can walk through that whole exercise. And for me, like timeline wise, it'd be awesome if this is up and functioning before Ramadan. So that we can take the most out of the giving season, if you want to call it. And what I would mention as well is anybody who wants to make gifts before the end of 2020, we can restrict those funds to be used and distributed for this initiative as well. So even in the next few weeks, if somebody wanted to make a donation specific to this concept, we have that available and ready.
Okay. Awesome.
I have a question, if I may. This is for Muhi. I guess what I wanted to know is, since the way we've structured ours is, we've sort of done it from a grassroots and taken care of the logistics ourselves. When AMCF were to step in, say there is a national giving circle, what does that mean in terms of overheads for for a new national giving circle? What is the cost structure you're looking at if you all step in to do the back end, like from a percentage perspective?
Yeah. So in
Curious.
terms of if AMCF is,
I'm gonna head
yeah,
out. Thank you so
no
very
worries.
much. And just continue, and then when you close, it'll automatically end.
Awesome. Do you need to make me the host?
I think I already did, or I just tried.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, no, I can't, because then it won't record for you. So you're fine. Just stay on for as long as you need to.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
So in regards to the administrative aspect of AMCF and the fees that we charge, if there are admin coordinators that the group selects who do a majority of the following up with people and setting up the meetings, taking meeting minutes, and doing the administrative role outside of the collection and distribution, it's a 5% model. But if AMCF is doing the follow-up for all the members and coordinating the times for the meetings to happen and taking meeting minutes and playing more of an administrative role, then it's a 10% model. And that is inclusive of the fees. So whether somebody makes a credit card donation on our website or an ETF donation or sends in a check, typically the donation processing has a fee of like 3%, but that is inclusive of that. So it's 5% total or 10% total.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And in the chat, I've shared a few different resources on whatisagivingcircle.com, AMCF's page on giving circles. There's a network called Philanthropy Together that we are part of. And then Amplifier Giving is based on Jewish faith values, but there's a lot of similarities in which we can derive FAQ or exercise based on Islamic values. So we're more than happy to, again, walk through that entire like a pop-up giving circle model for people to better understand how it works and defining the values that everybody wants to give together on a national basis. So feel free to ask more questions about the giving circles, and whatever clarifying questions that you have, I'd be happy to answer.
And Dima or Saima, another question I had in terms of how you came up with quarterly, was there a purpose for that as well?
I think the purpose was, again, flexibility, in the sense some people may not be able to give $400 upfront, and not to sort of discourage them from joining. It really was just to keep it simple and small. So we kept it as simple and small as we could, and left that at 100 a quarter and not upfront.
Got it.
I'm not sure if somebody asked this question, but is the money invested in any way so it can grow, or is it just given at one time and then dispersed?
Yeah, the money we collect. The money we collect from the members, their dues, is dispersed directly.
Okay.
So it never goes to anything else. It goes directly to the charities.
Right. Suzanne, in terms of how it can operate with AMCF, if the group decides to do like an annual distribution, we can invest that money that is collected and then allow it to grow over time as well.
Okay.
So that is an opportunity with AMCF. And the administrative fees as well. If families have donor advised funds with AMCF, there's no additional cost for those families to participate in the giving circle. So, we want to encourage more families to open up donor advised funds across the country. So that is one of the benefits. If you have a donor advised fund at AMCF, you're not being charged that 5 or 10% fee on top of that.
Okay.
Thank
you.
And then in terms of like flexibility, you can give on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis to the giving circle, so that it can increase participation from other people. And then you as a giving circle can decide, we want to distribute on a quarterly basis or just on an annual basis, whatever the group decides overall. Okay. If there aren't any more questions, we can give you back the rest of your time. But, I'm really excited for the opportunity. I think there's a really good need to organize around an initiative like this. And again, if you're thinking more of a virtual national type of structure, I think that AMCF would be more than happy to implement that and work with you directly on participating and coming up with what those minimums could be. And, each of you know so many people that could participate in something like this. So that's kind of the idea. And again, whatever money that you think could be collected now or before Ramadan, those gifts can come in at your convenience of when you would like to make a contribution. So I think as well, we have a donation form that already has this initiative listed on as one of the options to give to. So again, anything that comes into this donation form, and if you select the National Muslim Women's Giving Circle Initiative on that donation page, that those funds will be restricted to whatever this group eventually decides to do. So whether you know people who would be interested in joining something like this and can give before the end of the year to take advantage of the 2020 tax calendar planning, they can make contributions directly to this initiative. And then once the group forms and decides, from now until Ramadan, kind of what to do, then you can distribute those funds at whatever timetable the national group decides to. Any other questions? All right.
For giving circles that choose to appoint somewhat of an admin on their end,
Mhm.
do you have a framework that you provide to them, like, hey, these are the things that we do, or is it more just like kind of figure it out on your own?
Yeah, we definitely have resources that we provide, similar to like Amplifier Giving, the resources that they have. We can walk through, like I was talking about, like a pop-up 90-minute tutorial on the basics of giving circles and how they operate and what they do. So whoever the group decides as their admin folk, that is how we would set it up. And even if, like Dilara was saying about like people in Chicago, or Afshan, I know you have your core group of friends as well. Even if you wanted to do something on a smaller basis and, your friends are spread across the country, or you just want to do your own individual giving circle with a handful of friends, that's also something that we can decide to do. But again, my main focus is trying to get a group of Muslim women nationally to kind of take the lead on an initiative like that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Suzanne, Ola, Sabia, any other questions?
Oh, thank you so much. Very clear.
Okay. Of course. All right. Well, yeah, Sabia.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you. It was nice meeting everyone and excited that this is being launched.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. All right. Well, if that is all, again, thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to staying in touch, or definitely over the next few weeks if anybody wants to make contributions before the end of the year. But I think we can try to connect again in January with more people and kind of go through next steps of then before Ramadan, what you would like to make as like actionable outcomes and work from there.
Thank you. It's good to
Awesome.
meet everyone. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.